Namaste, good evening to each and everyone. Before we start today's program, let us start with a short silence and invoking the Universal Invocation. O hidden life, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light, shining in every creature. O hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May each who feels himself as one with thee know he is also one with every other. Let us be silent for a moment. Thank you. Very good evening to each and everyone. I am going to introduce Brother K. ADIKESHAVA Prakash SASTRY from Davangere, Karnataka. He is a very young, energetic, and I actually through online met him during the 98th Easter conference. He was then representing from Karnataka, the most active Theosophical Federation in India. And by profession, he's a software engineer, but he has given very short introduction, just like our Vedas and Upanishad. One stanza contains everything. So the way he presented during the Easter conference is a great asset to Indian section Theosophical Society. I will invite him more often than not. I will invite him regularly. So he by qualification, he is in engineering, BTech engineering, and from Kupempu University. And also he completed MBA Marketing and HR from Indira Gandhi National Open University. Plus the great point the great qualification he has, he is MA in Sanskrit literature. He is a rare breed for us. By profession, he is an educational researcher, trainer, and software consultant. In Theosophy, he is involved rendering selfless service since 1977. He is a worthy son of a worthy father, as he told me just few minutes back. His father moved throughout Karnataka, popularizing Theosophy in his own way. At that time, using best means available to him. Now we'll hear the sixth manual, TS manual, which is written by C.W. Leadbeater, and Brother ADIKESHAVA Prakash SASTRY will present it. I welcome you, brother.
Yes. Prano Devi Saraswati Vaje Bhirvajinivati Dhinama Vitrevatu. Seeking the blessings from all the gurus. Good evening, one and all. Today I have been given a chance to discuss few things about the Devachanic plane, which is the heaven world, written by the great Leadbeater. So today I'm presenting part 1. This series will be in the 3 parts, and today is the part 1. We will have a discussion for about 40 to 45 minutes. Later on, if any questions, any discussions have to take place, we can discuss them. So let's begin. The name Devachan, again, the word Deva, it invokes some feelings in us. Deva means the person or the personality which is in the heaven abode. So this Devachan here in our theosophy that we have to discuss, study, and we have to understand very, very, very carefully. So here in our module, first of all, we will be discussing about Devachan, and in the first part, we will be discussing about the expression of Devachan, how it is expressed, what are its important aspects that are observable in theosophy, and thirdly, especially in matter to science, because we know theosophy, we majorly concentrate on the scientific aspect of Adhyatma. We will discuss about that. In the second part, we have the general characteristics. The general characteristics one has to understand and feel of this Devachanic plane. There are plenty of characteristics. And thirdly, we will discuss the inhabitants of this Devachanic plane. The inhabitants, the human and the non-human, how exactly the Devachanic plane affects these inhabitants, we will study in the third session. So, first of all, we will begin with the expression of Devachanic plane. In the book, there is always one aspect that we want to highlight here. It is that Leadbeater ji, while writing it, instead of Devachanic, the word, the mental plane could have been used. But due to some technical this Devachanic plane, it is continued. So right away, we will start with the expression of the Devachan plane. The first point that we should know is that it is very much essential for us, the students of theosophy, to realize the great truth. And these are in the form of various planes or divisions. We have somewhere around 7 planes, major planes, and we have subplanes which are attached to each plane. Again, 7 subplanes which are attached to each plane. Maybe when we consider the religious aspects also, some of the religions, these 7 levels or 7 planes or 7 divisions, in some religious things, it is mentioned as Satwa Lok, the 7th adab. You will find that. Maybe some of the philosophers who are part of religion might have propagated that important knowledge to the other people. So these planes have their own matter of an appropriate degree of density, which in each case interprets the matter of the place next below it. There are 7 planes. These 7 planes, you see, one aspect has to be considered here. Planes, as we see in the book, as we explain it, they are not, like in different planes. Suppose you have the first plane, the second plane, the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, and seventh. It is only symbolically it is mentioned that each plane is below the other plane. It is only symbolical, or it gives us the literary meaning. Okay, so let's consider only literary meaning only, and there are about 7 planes. They have their own matter, and this matter has the appropriate degree of density. Okay, and that we will just see. For example, let's take the first plane. The logos. We call it as Nirgun Brahma. This Nirgun Brahma, whether it is the solar logos or the universal logos, say, let's consider we have logos there, and below logos, and logos is the ultimate truth. So it is called Nirgun. It does not have any dimensions. It does not have the time-space analogy. Here, one aspect has to be considered here is the time-space. We being engineers, we are very familiar with Jordanian time-space. That means wherever there is space, there is time. They are interrelated, interconnected, because when the universe started from logos, then the space started. Before the creation of the universe, there was no space. It was pure, non-characteristic one. It was pure, an individuality. We call it as individuality with no dual aspects in it. So when logos started coming down, the energy from logos, let's say the energy from logos, or the logos, when it started getting manifested to lower planes, then the term space came in. Simple words. Space is a boundary. It has some boundary. And when space started, time started from that moment. So before that, there was no time, there was no space. So time and space are interrelated. They cannot live without each other, like energy and mass. So logos is mass with energy. That mass, how much, what character it had? Nothing. It had no character. So while expressing, this is very important, when logos manifested itself to its lower plane, that is Adiloka. Okay, these are called, these are the first few planes are called Nirvanic planes. Okay, so it got manifested to Adiloka, okay, the plane, and then from here again it got down to Anupadaka Loka, the plane, the Anupadaka plane, and then from there to Atmic plane. And from Atmic plane, the logos manifested, the manifestation started from the top and it came down to Buddhic plane, from Buddhic plane to the mental plane. Here, the important aspect to be considered here is we will be discussing about this mental plane. And from mental, it came to the astral plane. It did not come, it manifested itself to astral plane, from astral plane, lastly to the physical plane. And the downward manifestation of the pure, omnipotent, omnipresent logos is called as evolution that we have studied. Evolution and the upward movement of the same logos to its original position is called involution. In Sanskrit, this is called pravritti mark and this is called nivritti mark. That means the manifested logos in the physical plane. I think somebody has unmuted his mic. Would you mind seeing your mic, and would you mind muting it? Please see to your mic that somebody has unmuted his mic.
Kindly you might mute your microphone, please. Let me check. Oh, yes.
Yes. So now the important, sir, somebody has put on his mic. Would you mind seeing it, and please unmute it, please? So while coming down, in the previous slide, we saw that each plane has matter of definite, some particular density. And when this got manifested, that is through evolution, the density became large and large and large. That is why the last one, the physical plane. In physical plane, everything is visible. You can identify whether it is a stone or it is some kind of book or whatever it is. It is the physical plane. So all the things in the physical plane have high mass. And once you go up, the mass or the density, it decreases. Density, if you are not a science student, let me tell you. For example, let's take water as an example. You see, water can be found in three categories. One is, let's say, the ice cube. Ice cube has a definite shape and it is more dense compared to water. Again, the steam that we get, it doesn't have the exact shape. So the density becomes less. So like that. So ice, same water is manifested as ice cube and same is manifested as the steam. So the physical structure, let's say it can be seen, it can be sensed by all the sensory organs we have, all the 5 sensory organs that we possess. And when you go up in nivritti marg, that is involution stage, this mass, this density gets lesser and lesser. Finally, the density at the logos. So this is whole of a cycle. Evolution and involution is a cycle. So this is what we have to understand here. That means to say, the density of the matter in astral plane is less compared to the physical plane. Similarly, the mental plane, the matters in the mental plane have less density compared to the astral plane. Okay, so the important aspect is, as I was explaining earlier, these are only for the literary purposes, that we say the lower plane. It does not refer to their position. You should never say that physical plane is at the bottommost, descending. No, it is not that. It is only, as I told you, there is nothing called higher plane or a lower plane with reference to their position, because they know they're not in space. Okay, so that we should understand. So how is it possible? It is simple as that. They have the same, they occupy the same space. That means there is no special space for astral plane. There is no much higher position. Like, when you go from Earth, you will have Earth's ozone layer, Earth's atmosphere. Then you go, then you find nothing. Okay, vacuum there. Then you go near moon. Then you have the atmosphere of moon. No, it is not like that. There is no going up or going down. They all occupy the same space. How is it possible? These planes can be explained by the rarity of the matter which they are composed of. So they lie on the same plane. Let's say they lie on the same plane. Simple example, as for a literary student to understand, it's on the same plane. Here in the same plane only, there is physical, astral, mental, buddhic plane, atmic plane, anupadaka plane, adi plane, and at the center is the logos. Okay, so, and this also can be explained by the extent which their matter is subdivided. How are the matters that are in these planes, how are they subdivided? But one thing we should understand here, we know that all matter, whatever matter we have, is essentially the same. Everything is made up of an atom. Okay, but atoms may be different. They are made up of subatomic particles. Like everything, I'm talking about the science way. Everything is made up of electrons, protons, and neutrons. Okay, their number differs. For example, hydrogen has only one electron and one proton. Okay, whereas sodium has 11 electrons, 11 protons, and 11 neutrons. That means same thing, same electrons, protons, they make, it is only, adding up some electrons. When the electrons added, obviously protons have to be added, and adding up of neutrons. So while speaking about theosophically, we know that everything is the manifestation of logos, the Brahman, the Nirguna Brahman. That means Aham Brahmasmi. So we know that everything is essentially the same. But here we say, here it's a different matter. The atmic plane has a different matter around it, where its density is either high or either low or whatever it is. So all matter this is how it can be explained. You see, here is the logos. I'm putting it at the center, you can see it. And this logos starts coming down to other planes, where I can put it this as the physical plane. This can be explained if you take an orange and cut it. It resembles the same thing as here. Here is the center portion where there are seeds, and then you will have some kind of arrangement, same type of arrangement. So I have shown the arrow here also. So this is the manifestation. But when it starts coming out, please remember, when it starts coming out, the rapidity increases. Just like fruit, the outer portion, you can take the orange and cut it into half. The orange, the things that are there at the outermost portion are large, where you can see it. At the center, they're still growing. They're small, from small to big. This is greatly explained by the Kapila Maharshi's Sankhya Sutra, what we call in the modern mathematics Fibonacci series. That is why it is called evolution, evolute. Okay, so here there is a word called vibration. The vibration in this sense, when we speak philosophically, vibration, yes, every matter, everything here has a vibration. The same electrons, protons, and neutrons in the physical plane have high vibrations. The electron revolves very rapidly, and when it goes to other planes, we have to consider one here scientifically. Same thing is highly beautifully explained in theosophy. Without vibration, there is nothing. The vibrations that happen, vibration is nothing, just movement, let's say, to and fro movement. The to and fro movement is too rapid when it comes to the lower planes, whether it is the physical plane, the astral plane, and the mental plane. That is why you can observe, whether it is in the causal body or in the mental plane, our thoughts are highly vibrant. But as we control our thoughts, like, I'm sitting, I don't know anything, I'm sitting for some kind of dhyan. When I'm sitting there, I think of a lot of things because there are a lot of vibrations. The astral plane moves from here to here. I think of something, immediately I move on to some other thing. All these are there. But when it is controlled, that means controlling of it, we are reducing the vibration of it so that it is uplifted to the next plane. So this rapidity of vibration of the matter, that is the only difference. Okay. Yes. We will come to this this thing again. So as a process of involution, that is the nivritti mark, we have to pass on from our physical plane to the abode, towards the logos. And we have, it gets manifest, we are all manifested. Okay. And again, this manifestation should be deleted. And once this manifestation gets deleted, we will reach here. Sometimes it is called the octet position in science. The eighth position is very important. Those who are the students of chemistry, they know the electrons in the outermost orbit. If it is 8, then it becomes inert, like neon, argon, etc. So they are chemically inert. They don't react. Same thing is the way. So even look, the compounds that are formed, they want to reach that position where there is no reaction. So that is the ultimate logos. So the movement from physical to astral to mental and the above planes is not movement in the space. We are not walking, or these are not steps. Okay, I'm here, I'm stepping to astral plane. No. This is not movement in space. That is why I told you already, time and space. No. This is only the physical science that can identifies it. But there is nothing as that. It is only the movement of our consciousness. The movement of our consciousness. So the change that occurs in our consciousness makes us to move from one plane to the next plane, which is less, which is less densified than the previous one. This is a beautiful concept altogether. Okay. So every man for that matter, we belong to every one of these planes. Okay, and we function in each plane. We function in our physical plane. We function in our astral plane. Same thing. We function in our mental plane, and the other nirvanic planes also. This is done when it is learned how to do that. For example, let me tell you, when a new baby is born, they are not very active in the astral as well as the mental plane. They are only active in the physical plane. But as the baby grows up, it learns the effects of the causal body, the effect of mental, the mind, the thoughts, all these things it is learnt. That is the thing. So we as human beings, we operate on all planes. We operate on all planes, but only few are observable by us. If I am not an enlightened personality, I only take up the last three planes, that is the mental, astral, and physical. So my vision is very limited to my physical activities, the astral plane activities, and the mental plane activities. The nirvanic planes, that is the buddhic, atmic, anupathik, and adi planes, I am unaware of. They become the unknown to me. So the journey is from known, that is our physical, astral, and mental plane, going up. And this is a beautiful concept altogether. You see, we have our solar system. Similarly, there are thousands and millions of solar systems. None of these three lower planes of our solar system and the X solar system, which is present somewhere else, which we are unaware of, there is extensive, they're coextensive, and they differ in their atomic subdivision of planes. I was reading a book about the aliens. It was explained. You see, few people, they believe in presence of aliens. That means same aliens are nothing but we are called humans. They may be called some other name. They have life also. Maybe there are some changes in life. So in the higher planes, they may be same, but in the lower subdivisions, they may differ. That is why we may not see an alien, we may not feel an alien, and we may not transport ourselves through our causal bodies or through our mental planes. It's a fact also. You see, let me give an example. Let's consider the sun as the logos. Look at the, we have somewhere around 8 planets, let's say, starting from Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, etc. The density in Mercury is the least, whereas the density in Neptune is the highest. I'm talking about the physical science. So please compare it with the theosophical way. You see, there are planets. All these things are planets. So they have some kind of similar properties, like revolving around the sun. But Mercury has the least, it is least dense. Let's consider Earth. Suppose if my weight here on Earth is 100 kgs, if I go to Mars, you know, my weight would be increased because we become more dense. As you go away from the logos, the density changes. And it is not possible for me to travel from Earth, let's say, to my nearest planet, Mars. It is because the 3 planes on Earth, I'm just giving an example. Earth and Mars, they are different. The physical plane is completely different because we have different kinds of the matter there. We have different kinds of matter there. This is one of the scientific way of explaining the atomic subdivision. And each physical globe that we see, whether it is Mars, Earth, Jupiter, or whatever it is, that includes its atmosphere also, its astral plane and its mental plane, they all are interpenetrating one another, and therefore they occupy the same position. What is this interpenetrating? I know it is like, let's suppose we have physical plane here, and then we have the astral plane here. Astral plane and physical plane, they join together. Look at this joining. When you have to join 2 papers, you will put it and you will put the gum. So that gummed portion, it is interpenetrating. They interpenetrate each other at exactly one point. So they occupy the same space. And this, apart from that, not communicating with the corresponding planes of any other globe. So they don't communicate, but they're interpenetrating. When do they communicate? When we learned how to communicate. It is only a learning process, as I told you earlier. So when we rise to lofty levels of the Buddhic plane, once we cross the mental plane, when we reach the Buddhic plane, there is a condition common to all, at any rate, all the planets of our chain. So from Buddhic plane, the whole process, the whole matter, they are the same. How is it possible? It is simple as that. You see, we have some kind of the planes. I mean, we can only see 3 planes because I can see only 3 planes because I act upon only in 3 planes. I am not at the level of Buddhic plane. When I start acting in my Buddhic plane, reaching means acting in my Buddhic plane, I can clearly visualize. Some people call it clairvoyance. Okay. So the 7 atomic subplanes that we saw in our system, that is the planes that we discussed earlier, it is one cosmic plane, and the lowest of which sometimes it is called the cosmic Prakritic. It is the Prakritic plane, cosmic Prakritic plane. So this is composed of ultimate atoms in their normal and uncompressed conditions. When it is uncompressed, it is more vibrant. What is this position called? You see, I had studied this here. Some things, electrons, protons, and neutrons constitute the whole matter. But what happens when it is in uncompressed condition? And when it is in the uncompressed condition, my question is it the God particle that we know? There are some particles called the God particle. So in Hindi, it is called Devachan. So what is God particle? That means in the subatomic stage, between, because it is in the space, nucleus is there, electrons are living out. There is a space. and thus that space is occupied by something called God particles, and it was discovered scientifically very lately. For theorists, for physicists, they explained why certain particle have mass. It was only in 1964, and there is some kind of a subatomic particle, and that subatomic particle was called as Higgs boson, or it's also referred to as Higgs particle. Boson is named after Satyendranath Bose. So what are these Higgs boson? They're subatomic particles, and that subatomic particle, it was discovered after 40 years. Yes, there are some subatomic particles when hadron, using large hadron collider. It's all scientific. They collided particles, and they came to know that there are some material other than the atomic particles, and they are called subatomic particles, and they are called Higgs boson particles that we have studied here. The etheric particles we discuss in theosophy. The ether, when you read a lot of books, there is some mention of ether. It is not a chemical. First, I had a confusion that is ether, diethyl ether. No. It is not that. It is the subatomic particle, has all the characteristics of Higgs boson particles. And when we started reading it, when people were reading it, the name ether, now it has come to a stage where, yes, the ether is the Higgs boson particle, the subatomic particle that combines everything together. So all the lower and more complex forms of ether exist only in connection with various heavenly bodies. They are aggregated around them just as their atmosphere is, though probably extending considerably further from the surface. The etheric particle is like an atmosphere. It is present around. Suppose if you consider an electron, the surrounding of an electron, because electron is the smallest particle that we can see. Okay, this electron is surrounded by this etheric particle, like in Earth we have the atmosphere, the ozone, but they are far away. And when you go above these planes, when these are moved, when we move from physical body to our astral plane to mental plane, these etheric particles, their concentration or their density, they are far away from the matter of that particular plane. Some, they also extend beyond the atmosphere also. So this is how we should see the Devachanic plane. And the mental plane, it interprets the astral plane, but it also extends further into space than does the later. That means the astral plane has some limitations. This mental plane, it interpenetrates, it joins, it covers some part of the astral plane, and it also extends above. This atomic matter of each of these planes, entirely free condition, it is coextensive with the interplanetary ether. So everything has the ether around it, and that ether, it helps in the interpenetration of each plane. Okay. For example, in the causal body, in the second causal body, when it is highly developed, then only this is possible. So the causal body, when it is highly developed, this kind of interpretations are possible. Okay. And in the Buddhic plane, when we are considering, because we are taking mental plane as the center. So below that and above that. In the Buddhic plane, where those who have already reached a stage of their consciousness to that level, they can see this kind of activities. So there is a confusion, as Leadbeater ji explains. There is the mental plane of our earth and those other globes of our chain which exist on the mental plane. That means the mental plane of our globe to that of the different globe. There was confusion that what about this, let's say the solar mental plane and the mental plane of the different solar system altogether. So there was some difference, and this was clarified. The mental plane upon which the heaven life takes place is the third of the 5 great planes with which the humanity is at present concerned. Having below it is the astral and the physical plane, and above it is the Buddhic plane and the Nirvanic. So the major concentration has to be given to the mental plane. Let's consider, that's why I said this is the base, and below it there are 2 planes, and above it there are 4 planes. So the Nirvanic planes and the lower planes. So the study of the mental plane or the Devachanic plane plays an important role in the philosophical field. And it is true that the reincarnating of the ego or the soul of man, that is the place, the mental plane, which each descent into the incarnation being merely a short and important episode in his career. So the mental place, the mental plane plays an important role, because that is the plane where the ego of every human soul works. That is why Buddha said, Buddha concentrated more on mind, control your mind, control your mind. So that the study of mental plane becomes very important for us. This is not necessary, so we'll go. Finally, this mental plane, in the mental plane also there is space and time. If they were not non-existent for events, you know, this mental plane acts, especially when I was discussing about one of the rarest disorders like schizophrenia, where there are a lot of hallucinations come out, and these happen at the mental level, mental plane level, wherein which when space and time, they have to exist together, because as I already told you, when there is space, there has to be time. But if they were non-existent, there, you know, the events that would happen 1,000 years in front of us should happen today. The events which happened 5,000 years back should happen today. So while studying the mental plane, obviously we have to study the time space aspects of it also. The best example that is given is the 5-ball experiment. You tie a 5-ball to a rope, start rotating it like this. What happens if you start rotating like this? You can see a clear circle of fire, the clear circle of life, fire. And this fire is it really the clear circle of fire? No, it is not, because we have only one ball. So the time-space illusion creates this. And this illusion, it makes us to think, yes, that there is a fire ring, but there is nothing called a fire ring there. It's only a ball which is on fire, which is being rotated with the help of this thing. So this concludes the end of part 1, where we studied the expression of Devachanic plane in terms of the planes that are above the mental plane or below the mental plane. And in the next session, we will study, or we will discuss, the characteristics with the Devachanic plane. So I take this opportunity to thank everybody for giving me an opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, brother Adi. Very nice presentation of the part 1 Devachanic plane. Now I request the members who are present here to have share their views, or they may ask questions. Yes, our Professor C.A. Sindheji is present. Bimal ji.
Namaste, Adi.
Namaste, sir. Namaste, sir.
Actually, you are on the Adi plane, actually.
Not so, sir.
Very nicely explained. And I hope in the next topic or next section, you will deal with the practicality of this theory, what we study. It is very important to bring it in practicality. So theory you have explained very nicely. You are a scientist and also have a good talent to explain.
Good knowledge of theosophy also, sir.
Yeah, sure. Otherwise, he cannot explain.
Yes. Otherwise,
he explained scientifically all that thing. And it is interesting to note that.
Yes, and using best means, and it is really learning to. I am totally. I don't know how time passed so quickly for me. Thank you, Adi. Yes.
ADIKESHAVA, I want to share with you.
Sir.
Body experiences painful and pleasant feeling. When we are thinking of mental plane, so starting with the physical, then emotional, then mind, etc. So the body experiences painful and pleasant feeling.
Sir.
It is quite acceptable. Our body experiences, body cells, they have this experience of both painful and pleasant feelings. And sense organs, they experience neutral feeling.
Yes, sir.
Here, neutrality is sensed by the sense organs.
Yes, sir.
And the interesting to note that mind, especially human mind, experiences all the three, because mind will interpret even neutrality as pleasant sometimes and painful at the other time. So the study of mental plane is very essential. And that is what to know this power of the mental plane and human mind, which is working at the mental plane. And the same question was asked to Buddha once, what real welfare is? Buddha was once asked what real welfare is. And in one sentence he replied, the highest welfare is the ability to keep the balance of one's mind in spite of all the ups and downs. So this is very interesting to bring whatever theory we study, bring it in practicality. And with that purpose, we study this mental plane, Devachanic plane. And once we have this clear idea of theory, that helps us to bring it in practicality. Thank you very much. We explained very nicely, and all the best. You are asset for our Theosophical Society. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, Pradip,
Thank
for
you.
giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, can I ask a question? Yeah. So you mentioned that the Higgs boson particle could probably be ether. I mean, is that what you said, or am I understanding it wrong?
No, you're right. In my opinion, the etheric particles, the ether is the Higgs bosons, that is the God particles.
And as of now, we still don't know. I mean, has science been able to see understand the God particle? Is it proven that it exists?
Yes. In 2014, after 40 years of their proposal, after 2004, it was discovered there are some particles which exist, which have the mathematically proven Higgs boson. If I'm not wrong, I showed you also. After 40 years, in 1964, it was proposed, and I think it was in 2004. If you can have some research on the net, you will find it.
Okay,
yes.
So the way I understand ether, for example, now when we talk about the theory of karma, we often give an example of you throw a stone in the pebble in the water, and then there are these waves which go out and they have to come back to the same place. That is the way the wave motion works. So my understanding of ether, it's been a recent understanding that just the actions that we do, they are recorded in ether. And they come back to us in that medium of ether, because that ether is everywhere. And so even our thoughts are our actions, and anything that we are actually doing in this in our life becomes an action. And that is expressed in that etheric medium. Am I right in my understanding, sir?
Yes, you are right. And one more thing, when you say it is recorded in the etheric plane, etheric medium, let's call it as a medium. You see, we have a kind of, the electron, protons, they have some characters. Neutrons, they have certain characters. But the in between them, the subatomic particle that exists, like Higgs boson, okay, it does not have a particle, because it is the mixture of both the positive and the negative. Okay, so that itself, it makes it possible. It may be, that's what I'm telling you. In my opinion, the ether that we consider philosophically, that we study in theosophy, maybe, what I said, maybe it is subjected to the research, because we have to do a lot of research on it. So it may be the etheric particle, the Higgs boson, because they don't have characters. Unlike, we have electrons and protons, they don't have it.
Thank you, sir.
The research has to be made. A lot of things have to be researched. Because when I was studying, because I had an opinion, why can't it be? Maybe I am wrong, or maybe I'm true also, and there are some substantial evidences have to be found.
So what you're trying to say is,
maybe we can.
let me just put it another way. what you're trying to say basically is that Higgs boson is not an electromagnetic thing. It does not have either positive or negative poles. So it's a different kind of thing,
Yes.
because otherwise everything subatomic has got an electromagnetic property. And of course, we understand our etheric body as being an electromagnetic body. So this etheric body is different from the word ether. I think we need to define this more clearly, because it's confusing. The same words are used. In fact, ether is actually a chemical substance with an actual chemical name. So all these same words are being used for different things.
Yes. Yes, for that matter.
The
We have to do, I'm just studying on that.
1 minute, Vimalji. The word ether is very, very complex and very, very subtle. So many layers are there in the ether. Yet scientists have not explained the entire structure of the ether. And when we touch to this God particle, that is origin of life in matter, they wanted to explain, but it is not yet scientifically proved. That's what I think. We have just named it, that boson particle, as the God particle. That is the smallest and nearest of the particle. But when you study, go to the ether, ether is very subtlest, very, very subtlest. Even scientists could not explain the different forms are not forms, rupa and arupa of this ether is very complex. But your question is good for discussion.
Yes,
very
sir.
good for discussion, right? And Adikesha, one more thing. You explained involution and evolution. What is your concept, evolution?
Evolution is the downward movement of the manifestation of logos. I mean, coming down.
We call it as involution.
No, that is evolution, because involution is the reverse process. It is called nivrutti marg. Nivrutti means again from the physical this thing moving to the above planes.
No, Theosophy teaches.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
In evolution.
Yes, sir. Yeah, involution is the entering of to the matter.
Entering into the
matter. Yeah. Whatever
involution is entering into the matter.
Yes, sir.
And evolution
and
is
evolution is freeing from the matter.
Freeing from the matter.
Pravritti marga and nivrutti marga, I think confused.
Yes, I'm confused, sir. Same thing, sir. I'm confused. Yeah.
Yeah, just I want to point out.
Yeah, sir.
Involution is materialization.
Yeah, yes.
And evolution is spiritualization.
Yes.
So this process, you need to correct it.
Yes.
I was also confused. Yes.
Verify again.
No, to avoid confusion, I made it clear.
Yes, sir. Very true.
Maybe slow this thing. You know what? You see, basically what happens, sir, since I'm a student of science, the evolution of man from from viruses and all these things, that is the proven theory. I mean, the theory of evolution.
Secondly, you got explaining in density matter.
Yes,
so in
sir.
that you got it confused. Down you came density.
Yes,
Considering the density, you explained like that.
Yes, sir.
Exactly reverse what you explained that.
Thank you, Sindhu sir, for clearing my confusion.
I have I don't have any science knowledge. I just going through your total lecture also, I noted something. You mentioned the more the matter, if we raise our consciousness higher and higher, still there are matters. My point is, in the physical world, there is matter consists of electron, proton, neutron. Whether these same three things are available in other field of matters like say astral or mental plane, in that matter, these three things.
here there is a point to be considered, sir.
Yes.
Suppose in a scientific way when we are speaking, so everything, that's what I mentioned there, everything in this thing is the manifestation of something. In science, whichever it is, maybe we don't call it as an electron or proton or neutron there. Maybe we can call it by different names, but it is the manifestation of electron that is there. I hope you got my point. Suppose in physical plane, we call it as protons, neutrons, and electrons. Suppose if you come to the astral planes, because their density decreases, maybe they are the manifestation of the same things, but with less dense.
Okay. 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 Thank you very much.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. It was a nice discussion. Thank you all. Thank you.
So we are going to close. So part 2 will next Saturday on 25th. Now I request Mithalini to close with a closing prayer.
Namaste to all. Asato ma satgamaya, tamasu ma jyotirgamaya, mrityurmang amrutangamaya, sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, na kaschit dukha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you, Brother Adi, for your nice presentation. I pay my gratitude and also very much thankful for your presentation with having strong theosophical knowledge as well as science mixing together. With this announcement, with these words, now I conclude the session. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Sindhu, sir. And
Thank
good
you,
night
thank
to
you,
each and
thank you,
everyone.
thank you.